Hi everyone, my name is Volkert, and with this video I would like to present my DApp. It's called Follow Your Nose and it's about fighting manure fraud in the Netherlands. Some information about myself. As you can probably guess, I'm from the Netherlands. I have a background in marketing and sales and I grew up on a dairy farm. That's also the reason why I'm familiar with the manure industry. Although I currently do not work in the food industry, I still keep myself up to date with all the developments and trends. Some information about the industry. As you can see from the facts that are stated on the slide, the Netherlands is a relatively small country, especially if you compare it to our agricultural industry, which is quite big and also well known. This also means that we have a lot of animals in the Netherlands, and as a consequence we have a huge production of manure. Manure contains phosphate and nitrogen, and the law tells the farmers that they have to dispose their surplus. And in other words, this means that they have to dispose some of their manure. What is the problem? As I mentioned in the introduction, the DApp is about fighting manure fraud in the Netherlands. This is being done by a collaboration between farmers, transporters and some other parties. How big is the fraud? Well, facts are missing, but estimations are between 25 and 40% of all the transported manure. And then we are talking about at least 100 million euros. Although it's not only about the money, it's rather about protecting the image of the Dutch agricultural industry, which is well known in the world, and this fraud causes a lot of bad publicity, and that can have some more consequences. So why are they committing fraud? Well, as you probably know, manure is a really valuable resource for farmers. This means that there's already a disadvantage for them if they have to dispose it, because they rather inject it into their own lands. Furthermore, it's also very expensive to dispose manure. In 2015, the total costs were around 500 million euros, and that's just the Netherlands. And that means that they have two incentives to commit fraud. How do they commit fraud? First of all, the transporter makes it look like he's transporting more manure than he's doing in reality. This is beneficial, of course, for the farmer, because in the end he has more manure to use for his own benefits. They also commit fraud by tampering with the manure samples. A transporter is obligated to take a sample of the manure during the loading of his truck. At the end of the transportation, what he does, he replaces the taken sample with a different manure sample, but with one that contains a higher amount of nitrogen and phosphate. And this is also beneficial for the farmer. Now for the solutions, I think it's relatively easy to solve the manure fraud in the Netherlands, because by just using an immutable ledger it will become impossible to use two different measurements and to use two different samples. In addition to this is to integrate a tamper-proof sensor that is capable of measuring nitrogen and phosphate. Regarding the vision of the decentralized application, I think it shouldn't be limited to just the part of the manure fraud, but in the end it should integrate the whole current recording system of manure into Ambrosus network, and this will lead to a lot more information and also to a lot more opportunities. And that's also my bottom line. If we are really talking about recording from farm to fork, manure should definitely be included. It is one of the most important and also one of the most complex parts of the food supply chain. Regarding the economic model, the government should pay for all the transactions, because we are talking about a compulsory recording system, and that's why it would be unfair to let the farmers pay for the transaction costs. My second point is about subsidy. It is possible to bind some AMP tokens to a pile of manure, and when the farmer uses an environment-friendly solution, which will be recorded of course on amb-net, then the government can support this farmer. To summarize everything, manure fraud is a serious problem in the Netherlands, and amb-net has the potential to solve the fraud in the Netherlands. Furthermore, the manure industry is far more complicated than what I've told you in the last 5 minutes, but nevertheless I honestly think that Ambrosus can add a lot of value to this industry. With this, I would like to thank everyone for listening, and I'm always open for feedback and discussion. You can reach me at the stated mail. And again, thank you and have a nice day.